podcast addressing issues men face, but rarely talk about. Today, we have Frank back with us again to finish off our 3-part series. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of the third part, I'm gonna hand this off to Frank and start out with the "How are you really?" and then Frank, you can hand it off to whoever you feel like afterwards. But how are you doing? How are you?
How
Really?
am I doing?
Yeah,
Really? How am I
really.
doing? Really? I'm hungry. uh, I don't like to eat before I do this because I'll be clearing my throat and burping. So,
Honesty right there.
yeah. So I usually wait. So I'm hungry. I'm excited. Those are the two things that stand out. Grateful, nervous, excited. I said that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
obviously excited.
Yeah. Yeah. I get to toss it to
Yeah, you
whoever
get
I
to hand it
want.
off now.
That's right. That's right. I'm gonna hand it back to you.
Oh
How
man,
are you
okay. So
really?
he's handing it off. He's handing it off to. Um, I feel stressed. I feel I'm a little bit on edge. I think I feel stressed because I'm not prepared. But we're just gonna go ahead and we're going ahead and doing it anyway. I've got a lot going on in life right now with starting the new job and my kids here and um just not lots of time. And
Mm.
I haven't taken much time to get my head in this game for today. So I'm actually looking forward to now that I think about it, I'm looking forward to just having the time to have some guy talk and to talk about um, this third episode. Um, I've learned a lot from the first two, so I'm looking forward to this. But right now, I can feel there's a tension in my chest. It's not a bad tension. It's just one that, and I think it comes with unpreparedness. Most of the time, I'm more prepared than I am right now, so I think that's where my tension's coming from. And so, other than that, I mean, I've got my roommate looking after the girls right now, and there's just a lot. And so, yeah, feeling a little bit stressed, but
I hear you.
looking forward to the recording. Robbie, how are you? Really?
Well, I just ate, so I got the
It's
burps,
your turn to burp.
and I need to clear my throat, like right now.
No judgment.
The last few days have been quite interesting. I got to get away up in the mountains, which always gives me a reset and brings me back to who I am and why I do things. And a couple days, um, got a message from Steve today about someone that we talked to about last night, and I got a message from another person uh, that follows another podcast I do, and the one was telling me not to change. You bring something new. You just stay you. Then the other one I got from Steve today was, we were in a meeting yesterday and we were talking, and I brought up some stuff that's going on and imposter syndrome. And these last two episodes have really fueled that imposter syndrome. The stuff that, excuse me, I've learned and I've actually been taking into inventory and doing it because it's what I need to do. Just those messages, they hit pretty hard. And I'm grateful to be here with you guys and talk and do this shit. It's all worth it.
You're carrying a lot right now, bud.
I am.
It's nice to hear some cool things, though, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
it. Hearing "Don't Change" is a really cool reinforcement of a lot of the stuff that you've been doing and working on. And it's not something we hear very often, so it probably hits you pretty hard in a soft spot,
Yeah.
I imagine. It comes in spurts. The message we got today, the message I forwarded to Robbie, was a really sweet message from an older lady who we actually both hadn't seen in a while and was very interested in what we're doing here and thinks that the message that we're bringing is incredibly valuable. So that was also really neat to hear, and it was nice to be able to share it with Robbie. She specifically requested that he hear it. And it's always anytime that ever happens to me, it hits me in a really soft spot. And it's cool to see your heart, Robbie.
Yeah, agreed. I don't even know you that well, but and it kind of aligns with what we're talking about today. We're talking about emotions today.
Yeah, my emotions are high, as you can see, but it's grateful, and I'm my own worst enemy, and there's a lot of times where I feel I don't deserve this. No one should listen to me because I'm a critic to myself, always asking myself, why am I doing this? And a lot of times I will tell that story why I shouldn't do it. But I've learned that I can't. And it's time to, take it in and
start believing that it's true.
Yeah. And that's kind of where it's at the last couple of days. It's like the reinforcement that it is true. I need it. And I hate external validation. Steve knows as well. I hate it because I don't want to feel myself off that and get that dopamine hit and crave that external validation from people all the time. So I keep quiet. And I think I don't take it in a lot of times, but with the last couple of weeks and talking with you, Frank, it's a little different now.
Compliments have sharp edges, especially when they're true. And you can see that one cut right now.
Yeah.
That to me means that you know it in your heart. And letting that in when you know it's real and authentic, it's a really soft spot. Thanks for sharing with us today, Rami.
Thanks for giving me the space and asking how are you really.
I think it's a super important question, and I love that it brought out some emotion today. I really appreciate you sharing that with all of us. Okay. I don't even want to take the moment away, but I mean, we're going to have to move on here.
I think it'll be tied to, I think it'll be tied to we could tie this.
I'm sure you can.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll start with a quick touching on the first 4 virtues from the first 2 episodes, and then we'll roll into the next 2. So the first episode we talked about brotherhood and discipline, the first 2 virtues. Frank, do you want to give us a quick couple lines about those 2?
Yeah, sure. Just a couple sentences. I would say brotherhood, virtue number 1, it's the foundation, is that men, we need other men. We need to surround ourselves with other aligned men. We need community. We need men who are going to push us to hold ourselves to a higher standard and challenge us, hold up a mirror to us, and inspire us. We need men to emulate. And deep down, I think a lot of men are starving for brotherhood and don't even know it. This is how we begin the journey, is by surrounding ourselves with the right guys who are on the same journey and who want the same things. Discipline, second virtue, because, you know, brotherhood is great. Brotherhood brings in a lot of love, inspiration, but love without standard is just indulgence. You know, we could sit around and hold hands and sing kumbaya, but that's not what this is about. There's work in this journey, on this journey. And if a man wants to step into his masculine energy and he wants to lead more, then he needs to be able to lead himself first. And that's discipline. That comes through in his discipline. It's learned through discipline, through consistency with his habits, through honoring his commitments to himself. And then, and only then, can he lead others. So that's, that was episode 1, all about brotherhood and discipline.
And that's where you talked about iron sharpens iron, I think.
Amen to that.
What you talked
indeed.
about. And so, like, another man helping another man getting sharper.
Hell yeah.
And that was one of those. That was one of the key takeaways that I took from that, like needing other guys. And I've been searching for this, and I mentioned that.
Yeah.
Needing other guys in my life to help push me to be a better man. The next episode we rolled into after that, we talked about courage and vitality, Frank.
Yeah. Yeah, courage. Courage is so important, because if you are husband, father, or leader of any kind, and you want to be in your masculine energy, right? Masculine energy protects. So in order to protect, you need to be willing to assert. You need to be willing to set boundaries. You need to be willing to face fears. You need to be willing to take risks and be bold. And that's what courage is all about. It demands that of us if we are the masculine leader in any situation. Again, husband, father, team leader. At some point or another, we need to be courageous. And am I jumping ahead, or did you say the other
vitality is next?
Vitality. Yeah. Because when it comes to masculine energy, yes, it leads, yes, it protects, and we can't just embody strength internally. I believe that as men, we are biologically different. We are built a certain way. We are built biologically to be stronger. And I think that that's something that is we can make it our duty and our responsibility to optimize that, and to make sure that we have energy and presence and vitality, and that we are externally embodying the men that we want to become. It's not just internal, that we have to embody that externally. And it doesn't have to be the same for everybody. You know, not everybody needs to go and get jacked, but you shouldn't be shaped like a pear. You shouldn't look like, somebody looks at you and they see, oh, he doesn't look disciplined at all, or he looks like he'd get knocked over with one blow. I think that that's important to think about. I do. So vitality is, for me, in the Iron Brotherhood, and the way I see it, it's 100% about the external embodiment of the men we want to become. That's episode 2. Courage and vitality.
That was episode 2, and I think we had a comment on that episode from someone, and I'm not going to dive into it because I'm going to butcher it. I just tried to look for it, but I haven't found it yet. But it was about how men approach their masculinity a little bit different. Everyone's got a little bit of a different view. I think it all encompasses a lot of the same things, but the way to get there, just like anything else, the way to get there is a nuanced path on its own. And then there was something about conflating protection and that sort of thing with essentially not. I think it was like taking masculinity too far. To it goes. You could take it to the nth degree, and I don't think that's what we're talking about here. I think, and they mentioned that too. I think what we're trying to do is come at this from a really emotionally and intelligent way, and I think that's where you come from. That's the way you approach this, and you can tell that just by the way you communicate. So after those 2 episodes, we are now rolling into episode number 3 with the last 2 virtues that we get to talk about, and that's going to be temperance and integrity. And I know everyone's going to have some stories about integrity, and temperance is going to be where we're going to start off, and then we'll finish it up with integrity, which is something that it's all what you do behind a closed door, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to leave it at that for now. Is doing the right thing when no one's watching.
Yeah.
And so let's start with temperance, Frank.
You got it.
How do you define temperance for the Brotherhood?
So temperance, before I even dive into that, what I'll say is the framework that I use to define what I think is the foundation for healthy, good masculinity can be taken to the nth degree. There's no such thing as too much masculine if you follow these virtues. What does too much integrity look like? What does too much temperance look like? You could be unapologetically masculine and take it to the nth degree, and it's not going to cross over into ugliness. That's why integrity and temperance are a part of that journey.
That makes
sense. If you took the other 4, an argument could be made that it could be brought to some dark places. That's why I bring these in. So, all right, temperance,
which makes it's actually cool that you could take those first 2 episodes and be like, you know what, if you had those 4 and you took those 4 to the nth degree, you could be doing some harm or taking it too far.
Oh yeah.
And that's why we have these 2, and these 2 here are probably the most humbling of them all.
There are men out there, peers, other coaches, guys, authors, guys who are in the masculinist space and talk about this, who don't include temperance and integrity and really just kind of focus on something similar to the first 4, big emphasis on courage, big emphasis on strength. But I think that this I think it's key, these 2. So, all right. Temperance. So how is temperance masculine, and how is it part of the masculine journey? Masculine energy is stable. It's that secure, stable energy that makes other people, when they are unstable, feel okay, right? And in order for that to happen, we must have self-control. We must be in control of our inner switchboard. And the opposite of temperance, I think, would be a man who is reactive rather than responsive, a man who makes emotional decisions rather than ones that are rooted in logic, and a man who is ruled by his ego or blinded by his ego. And I think that's probably, there's a lot that I cover in month 5, temperance. And it's funny, the timing, because the Iron Brotherhood, the current cohort, we just moved into month 5 temperance. So I'm really excited, and it's nice and fresh. And we're going to cover so many things. We're going to talk about humility, emotional regulation. We're going to talk about mindset. And a big one that we're going to talk about is ego. So I thought today, just for to make some room for discussion, I was thinking we would just maybe highlight and shine a light on the ego. It's something that I bring up with all of the guys who I work with, and I'm often, I'm not surprised anymore, but I remember I used to be surprised at a lot of men's limited understanding of what the ego actually is, that they immediately think like, oh, I'm not cocky. And I'm like, that's one layer of the ego, but it serves it has other functions as well. And that's maybe what we could talk a little bit about today. The part of temperance is disarming the ego when it acts as a shield for us, and it does that typically in two ways. The one way is resistance, where it is resisting oftentimes the very thing that we need to lean into, and I think that that's what's happening a little bit with Robbie. Maybe we'll dive into that more if you want to. And then the other part of it is the other way that it acts as a shield is through projection, which is where we start blaming external things rather than holding ourselves accountable and taking ownership, is that we project. So those are two ways that the ego shields us. Shields us from what? From feeling shame, from change, from anything that it perceives as danger, anything that makes us uncomfortable. The ego is going to jump in and be like, oh, I'm your shield. Let me protect you because you feel uncomfortable right now. And often erroneously it's protecting us, because when do we grow? When we're in the discomfort zone. So that means that the more you're growing, the more your ego is going to fire up and be like, I need to protect you. So you need to prepare for resistance, and you need to be able to identify resistance honestly. And when you do that, that's when you're the operator of your switchboard. That's when you're the driver rather than it's driving you, is that you can recognize, I'm resisting this right now, but why? And then you break it down, you go one layer deeper. Is it going to hurt me? No. Then what am I afraid of? Well, it's making me uncomfortable. Why? Because I'm embarrassed. Oh, because I'm afraid I might fail. Because I'm afraid I'm not that thing. And I'm afraid I'm going to fall short.
Imposter syndrome?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe.
So, yeah. So then we resist.
I'm not pointing any fingers.
Right. I'm not pointing any
Robbie's
fingers.
over there. I'm not pointing any fingers, Robbie.
But that's why we resist. And then projection is usually the more obvious one that we can recognize. I shouldn't say that. No.
Normally it is a pretty that projection shows up as victim mentality, right?
It can. Yeah. It's usually how it presents itself, is that we are blaming externally. It's like, no, it's your fault, or it's their fault because they said this and they did that, and or we make judgments about them. Well, they're just insecure and that's why this happened. And it's the ego protecting us from taking ownership, because what happens if we take ownership? We might have a moment of humility that might, for a short period of time, make us feel some shame. It wants to protect us from that. I like shame. Shame is my built-in moral compass. Contrary to what's popular these days, I think that shame can be very useful. So, all right, I'm going to stop there. How long was that monologue? I wasn't watching, but I know it wasn't 19 minutes like my first one in episode 1. But
it wasn't.
No.
I usually could tell by your
nose.
If I start picking my nose, then you know.
Clearly.
Like, Frank, you're running out of time, dude.
Let's go, bro.
Yeah, it's like that's Steve getting bored mining for nose gold to feed the townspeople. We're good.
Let me see if I could frame it just for some good conversation here. Let me see if I could frame this as a question, right? Can you name any resistance? Can either of you name any resistance, or think of a time? And I'll do the same thing, because I'll be vulnerable and I'll chime in if I think of something within myself. But can either of you think of a time, or currently, if it's going on now, where you are feeling resistant to something? And then maybe we can talk about that a little bit, and the people listening can do the same thing, and see if we find our way to ego. See if we identify what we're resisting, and if it's the ego that's shielding us. Silence. Should I lead?
Well, I can go here, because it's something that we just, I just talked about, is believing in myself and fear is like number one. I know this. The fear of, and this is, I know a lot of people have this, and uh, the fear of, uh, you know, not being right, but of being, trying to word this somewhat. I'm having trouble with the words I can think of in my head, but it's the fear of rejection of who I am, putting myself out there, being vulnerable, authentic, uh, that people thinking it's a facade.
Mhm.
This isn't the real me. Um, and it comes right back to me telling that to myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's me doing all this. It's no one else. I'm projecting to myself that I'm not good enough, or
Right.
this is so. I and I can work through this, but this one's a little harder just because I'm like on the other side now, and uh, I like to listen and not try to offer too much help, um, and just try to talk to things. But now, you know, talking, and especially today, just being who I really am scares me sometimes because of the unknown. Where's this going to take me?
Mm.
And I deep down inside don't know why. I think it could be some childhood things, maybe. But yeah, I'm not quite sure. It's something I really need to work on.
Yeah. So you
Can you
said
hear
that.
me?
Yeah, I could hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I lost sound and I just got my recording got stopped.
We just lost you
No,
for like 2 seconds. Screen
yeah,
went black for 2 seconds. You jumped right back on.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Are you almost done?
you yeah, Steve, are you almost done?
Right? Little monkey.
I think maybe he was asking me, is he almost done? Oh shit, did we lose him
oh,
again?
we lost him again.
We lost him again. All right, let's keep going though.
Yeah, he'll come back.
He'll come back.
There
All
he
right.
is.
Oh, see, now I have to move my screen because I'm looking at myself and I hate seeing myself on this thing. Damn it, Steve. Why'd you do that?
Technical difficulties over here.
happened?
Seriously, I wrote a sign that said I just
I
lost
just
my
lost
sound.
my sound. Imperfect leadership. All right. We got to embrace it. All right. All right. So, fear, right? The resistance of fear of what I heard was I'm afraid that they will see me, they will see a facade. Right. I heard that. It was external. Is
Yep.
I'm afraid that they will reject me, that they will
Yep.
see a facade,
Yeah,
that they will see me fall short of what I've claimed to be, right? Or what
correct.
they believe
Mhm.
I am.
Yeah,
And you said, and that leads into my fear of, am I really that? My own fear of, am I really that thing? Yes, so far?
yeah,
Okay.
correct.
Okay. I believe these things happen in reverse. I believe that deep in your psyche, deep in the unconscious, right? Because we go resistance, then we go fear, and then we go deep into the psyche where we can access self-limiting belief. Self-limiting beliefs live so deep in the unconscious. It's like right at the line of like you go any deeper and you get into a part of the consciousness that's just not accessible ever. That's how close it is. But it is still part of the unconscious that we can access. It's just so deep. But it's usually the root of everything, of our fears. So usually linked to something that happened in childhood or adolescence, a belief of I'm not enough, or I'm not this thing, whatever it is that you were talking about. I'm not this thing. That's the self-limiting belief. And usually there's a big conflict between the deep, deep unconscious self-limiting belief and our consciousness that logically we know. For example, self-limiting belief could be, I don't deserve to be loved. Maybe because they lost a parent when they were younger or a parent rejected them. So the self-limiting belief and deep in the psyche is, I don't deserve to be loved. But the conscious adult, the logical adult was like, of course I know I deserve to be loved. So those two things may be in conflict. But so, and that's why I often am met with like some pushback on these things when I'm like, I think this might be your self-limiting belief. Is a lot of times the reaction is, no, I don't believe that. That's silly. I know that I deserve to be loved. Yes, I know consciously you know that you deserve to be loved, but deep in the psyche, deep in the unconscious, in your case, there might be some self-limiting belief of I'm not that thing. I know I'm not. I never will be. I'm not enough.
Yeah,
And
That's
never good enough.
right.
Never good enough.
That gets exposed when someone shares that you are. And
It gets triggered.
It gets triggered when someone shares that you are. And then the tears come from you actually believing it. You're fighting it, but the tears come from the fact that I know this because this has happened to me a lot. Because the same words that come out of your mouth, Robbie, have come out of my mouth so many times. I don't deserve this. And I don't say it out loud, but the thought sits there and it gnaws away at like, there's no way someone sees that in me. Right? Like, how is that possible? Right? And it triggers the little boy that didn't feel like he got the love that he deserved and he fought for, and it come out in some weird way. Like, you know, you screamed, you cried, you ran away, you did something, right? Like all it was for attention and love. And finally someone sees it. Someone sees that the actions you've done, the things that you're doing that are good for not you, just your authentic you, Robbie. And someone is acknowledging it. And you're like, fuck, I finally just got seen.
Yep.
I finally just got seen, and it is foreign.
Well, I can't call bullshit anymore.
Can't.
And it hurts.
Because you know it's true. Like, you know you've put the work in.
Yep.
You know, it's acknowledgement of all your fucking try. Of all your showing up. Because there's so much showing up that shows up behind those tears. I know this because it happens to me. It happens to me. When I finished this last semester and my grades were freaking my average was above 100, I still don't feel like I deserve it. Even though I put all of that effort in, and I still, like, someone else has to come in and say, like, dude, you put that work in. You deserve those grades. Just like you deserve the love, and like you deserve the compliments, and just they're hard. They're hard to they're it's so easy to try and slap them away like you don't.
Well, that's the shield the ego is putting up.
Yeah.
It's like, let me put this shield up because there's a lot going on and I need to protect you.
What is it protecting you from?
Myself.
Or if I'm not actually this thing, because that's what my self-limiting belief says, it's protecting you from the rejection when they see, oh, he's not that. He's not that. Yeah. They're going to be disappointed. They're going to reject you. So that's the order I think it goes in. It's your fear actually starts your self-limiting belief leads to the fear of, I'm going to be found out. I'm going to disappoint these people. And then they're going to reject me. All of those things. So the ego is shielding you from that by saying, like, don't do it.
Wow.
Don't do it. Remember, you're not that thing. All right. So don't do it, because I'm going to protect you from the shame that you're going to feel when you let these people down. And that's painful. Yeah, that's painful because it's terrifying. Yeah.
It's terrifying to let people in. How much experience do you have, Robbie, with keeping people at bay in years,
What do you mean by that? Like,
shielding everyone from seeing you?
how much experience?
Yeah.
A lifetime.
Yeah. How much experience do you have at trying to allow yourself to be seen?
Days.
Comparably speaking, and I can vouch for this for myself too. When you have a lifetime of experience that shows you that this is how you must be to take care of yourself, is shield the authentic version of you, and then you try and give yourself a new experience by saying, you know what, I'm not going to do that anymore, and then show up authentically. And this is where it hits with me, is when I am showing up authentically and the reflection in my life shows up and shows me that authenticity is doing the right thing, then I'll cry like a baby. I will. I'll burst into tears out of nowhere, just because that it is finally the spot that's where the rejection comes from. And that's where if I can protect myself enough, people always disappeared in my life, and that's what it felt like. Like you always just waited for the next shoe to drop.
Yeah.
And when you figure out how to put that away for the most part and say, if that shoe drops, I'm still going to be okay. And I'm still going to find friendships when one ending turns into another beginning. Just like our meeting topic yesterday, new beginnings. Right?
Yep.
I don't know. You give yourself a fighting chance to live a pretty fucking awesome life.
Part of it, it seemed like there was fear, which we identified in resistance, but there also seemed like there was some genuine sadness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our and Steve, it's I think, just to kind of piggyback on what you said, I think sometimes, like, when we get to the other side of something, then our body finally lets us grieve.
I was just gonna say grief.
Yeah, there's so much grief of, I can't believe I went this long without trying a different way.
Yeah. And I think we're allowed to feel sad for the older version of ourselves that suffered.
100%.
Yeah. That is a sign that you're on the other side of it, though, and that you're not being ruled by the ego. It might still fire up and scare you and push you to resist, but the tears and the sadness is kind of a sign that you found your way to the other side and actually starting to believe that you do have worth and that you are going to be able to do this. And then you grieve all the years or decades. Yeah.
This is the weird thing is, like, in 2016, I went on this kick of not judging and killing the ego.
Hmm.
So I did a lot of, research and learning about judgment, don't judge people, and kill the ego. And I just want people to hear this. I thought I did, but this is because I did do some stuff, and I moved on and was able to grieve some stuff, and but I just want people to hear it, that this journey never ends.
No, it doesn't. I don't mean to laugh at you, but I was tickled because I was just like, no, he's going to come full circle. He's going to bring this home and say, like, it's not possible. But imagine if we could read some books and it's like, hey, I killed my ego. It's done. I'm done with it for the rest of my life. I don't have to worry about it again. Yeah, no. Marcus Aurelius dedicated his entire life, like other philosophers have dedicated their whole fucking life to trying to understand the ego. It is an ongoing journey. We will fight it. We don't actually have to fight it. It can work. It could work for us. But we have to just continue to deepen our understanding of it and build our awareness of it and know when to take the wheel and say, no, I don't need you right now. You're not serving me. I understand what you're doing. You're shielding me, but it's not needed. Kill the ego. Whenever I see like books like that, I'm just like, all right, it's cheeky. It's it's a fun thing to say, but it's it's an ongoing journey. It's an ongoing journey.
Steve and I talked about this when we started this podcast. Was there is enough people out there telling you how to live your life, and a podcast out there to tell you, here's your morning routine, all that, right?
Yeah.
Right before you go to bed. I fell into that trap, and that's where I came up with Kill the Ego back in 2016, 9 years ago. Because I fell into it. I need to do this stuff to be a better person. And, fast forward 9 years, I don't need people to tell me what to do. I need the tools and the brotherhood to hold me accountable. Thinking that I can do all this stuff and I'm going to wake up tomorrow a different man is a fucking lie. And I'm sick of hearing it. It's got to stop. Like, people are getting rich off of it. I understand it's a business and all that other stuff, but it's not real. And once you see through that, bullshit, the authenticity is gone. A lot of people I trusted and read, I don't listen to them or trust them anymore. It's a gimmick. So when Steve and I decided, like, we want life experiences, we want to sit here and be able to tell experiences that happen to us or happen to our guests. And this is our life. This is our journey. We're not telling you how to do. We're giving you some tools and talking through it, but it's never going to end. And I really hit home on this a lot, that this is a lifetime journey. It's not going to end. Don't think you're going to wake up tomorrow and you're going to be enlightened. I'm sorry.
You might have an epiphany, but it doesn't mean you're going to wake up a brand new man and the work has ended.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
And if you ever see any type of marketing from any coaches or mentors or helping professionals that says, become this in 5 days or solve this in 10, run the other way. I don't want to cut anybody off if you had more on temperance, but I feel like Robbie just segued us to integrity with that. That's one part of integrity. It's you guys do what you do because you love it, because you believe in it, because it's a mission, and because that it's making an impact, and you do it in a way that is not self-focused. And that's the kind of work that I do too, but that's rare. So now, just for the sake of being consistent with what we've been talking about in these last couple episodes, I will tie it to masculinity. I think that masculine energy, it penetrates and it impacts, and I think that we must do so nobly. There are a lot of guys, and I mentioned this earlier in the episode today, there are a lot of guys, or maybe not a lot, but there's some guys in the masculinist space who talk about masculinity and masculine energy who kind of make this distinction between being good at being a man and being a good man. And they say, you know, you could be good at being a man without being a good man. And you can also be a good man, but not necessarily be good at being a man. And I don't believe either sentence to be true. I actually don't think that you can be good at being a man without being a good man. I think that integrity is an integral part. Well, let me not define it with its own word. I think that integrity is an essential part of masculinity and the masculine journey, because masculinity, when there's no integrity, masculinity is surface. It's surface only, and it's self-focused. Um, and I don't see masculinity. It leads. But if we're leading just from a place of self-focus, just from a place of ego, so then there's no temperance in that. There's no nobility in that. There's no honor in that. We can't just strip all those important virtues and sub-virtues from masculinity and still call it masculinity. Integrity is everything, and you do have to be a good man in order to be a masculine man. At least that's my belief, and that's the type of masculinity that I teach and coach. We it does lead and it does make an impact, but what kind? We want it to be a positive one. And Steve, you took some of the words right out of my mouth that I was planning on saying when I got to integrity today, and that is that it's what we do when no one's watching. What kind of,
It's also
masculinity without integrity is performative.
it's what we do when no one's watching, and it's also what we do when other people are watching and you're afraid of being judged.
Right.
And story. And I blew myself away when this happened. Something super simple. Didn't really know it. It just came from a very do the right thing space. And I was sitting at I went to a comedy show here in town because I was invited by a guy from my CrossFit gym, and I ordered myself an NA beer, and I sat at the table, and there was a guy next to me, and we were shooting the breeze, and he had ordered himself a beer, and I realized that, like, I saw the waitress give him a receipt, and I didn't have a receipt in front of me. I realized that I hadn't paid for that beer, that non-alcoholic. I hadn't paid for it, and I was like, "Huh, I didn't pay for this thing." And I said it out loud, and he's like, "Right on, you just got yourself a free beer." Right? And she walked by, and I said to him, I was like, "This isn't a free beer. I still have to pay for it."
Yeah.
And he's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "She didn't ask you for any money." I'm like, "No, it's fine." And she walked by, and I said, "I didn't pay for this. So can you let me know how much it cost?" And he just, like, deadpan face, like, I
Right.
can't believe this dude's just following through with this.
Yeah.
And she looked, and she was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I didn't ask you to pay for this." And I was like, "Okay, well, while you're at it, can you grab me another one, and I'll pay you for both."
Yeah.
And then afterwards, she thanked me. Someone has to pay for that,
That's
regardless.
right.
Someone has to pay for it. So I could ask her to pay for it, or whatever their policy is, or the owner to pay for it, or I could pay for the thing that I chose to buy. And so I just did it, even though I was the influence next to me, and this is a trap I would have fallen into all of the time. I would have been influenced by him saying free beer, and I would be lying if the thought didn't cross my mind. But my intention and my action and the integrity that I had there, it was proof that I've done something to change my frame of mind, because beforehand I would have just taken the free beer. I would have just done that. And I've had little glimpses into my life recently, and that story is one of them. It doesn't happen all the time. But for me, there's the doing it behind closed doors when no one's watching. And the other one that to me is almost just as important is not being the sheep when other people are doing the thing that you know is wrong and isn't authentic,
Yeah.
and following through with the thing that you know is right in the face of other people doing the thing that you know you probably shouldn't do.
Yeah.
And for me, that one is the harder of the two.
Another reason why brotherhood is important and surrounding yourself with aligned men, virtue aligned men, is really important. So you could get yourself around more people who hold themselves to a high standard when it comes to integrity. Because as I listened to you, I thought to myself, that's the harder one, but that's integrity. That's par for the course. And I might make myself sound a little bit like a cynic right now with what I'm going to say, but I don't mean to be. I am objectively going to say that I believe that the average person doesn't hold themselves to a high standard of integrity. I don't. And for that reason, we're often going to be met with what you just described. As soon as we make integrity important to us, or if it already is, but we're increasing our standard of integrity, be prepared to be different.
Truth.
Be prepared for that. Yeah,
It's not easy. It's not easy. It's just it's like it's an easy word to say. It's a really hard to follow through.
It is, and that's why few people do. And I think the other thing about integrity that I'm going to say this because I think that some people need to hear it. A lot of people, until I mention integrity to them, a lot of men don't make it important to themselves. And then once they do, they're like, holy shit, integrity is everything. And it's not easy, and it's often not going to come naturally. So don't judge yourself. You know, I was, this is the example I'll often give of what I think. Your example was, I loved your example. And my example is a little different, but similar feelings that came up, similar temptation that might come up from yours. So I was driving home, you know, Friday nights after the Iron Brotherhood. I usually will, that's my cheat meal. So, you know, it's going to be pizza, or sometimes it's Taco Bell or Popeyes. And this night, I think it was Popeyes, and it was in my passenger seat. And man, I could smell it on the ride home. I couldn't wait to just get back to my apartment and eat it. And on my way back home, there was a guy pulled over on the side of the road, and this, he might have even been in one of the active lanes actually on the road. But because this really caught my attention, where it made me think, oh, I hope this man is okay. Guys, I didn't want to stop. I really didn't. I didn't want to stop and help him. No, I wanted to go home and I wanted to eat my food. That's what I wanted to do. I couldn't wait. I wanted to go home and I wanted to eat Popeyes. But I stopped and I rolled down my passenger side window. And I was like, hey, bro, you all right over there, man? You need help? And he's like, oh, thank you, man. He's like, I'm good. I called. He's like, I'm all right. I was like, cool. All right. Have a good night. I was like, thank God. I was really hoping he was going to say he didn't need help. But if he did, I would have stopped and I would have helped him begrudgingly, but I would have done it. So that moment for me, that's a moment I'll always remember, because for the rest of my ride home, I reconciled the discrepancy between what I wanted to do and what I did do. And I realized that that's not what integrity is. Integrity isn't feeling like helping people. It isn't feeling like doing the right thing. It's not what it is. It's doing the right thing, whether you feel like it or not. In fact, I'd argue that somebody scores higher points of integrity if they do the thing they don't feel like doing, because they believe it to be right. So I think that that's important for people to hear, because I think a lot of people, when they start considering integrity as a virtue and start really being intentional about trying to embody it more and more, is that they often feel shame or guilt if they're not feeling like doing the right thing. And that's when I remind them, like, we're human, we're self-focused. So accept that. And we are not our thoughts and feelings. We are our actions. We are our actions. And that's what integrity is, I think. I think that integrity, it has a couple meanings. The one context is that it's about, being honest. It's honest, noble, having good character, having a strong moral compass. The other thing, which I think is directly tied to it, is it means to be whole. So how is a person whole? And I think a person is whole through alignment. And this is why integrity is in month 6 of the Iron Brotherhood at the very end, is because it asks you to look back on all the other 5 virtues and ask yourself, how well are you living in alignment with all of these? Because if you're living in alignment with them, if your actions reflect alignment with these virtues, you are living with integrity. Integrity is hard when you don't know where to begin. And I think that every man needs a handful of words to use as a compass when he's trying to really step more and more into integrity. We need values and we need virtues to use as a compass. So in any given moment, if we're conflicted, we can ask ourselves, okay, brotherhood, discipline, courage, vitality, temperance, or maybe add your own, maybe the leadership, authenticity. I'm looking at mine. I have it up here. Empathy. You have these words that you want to live by, and you do the work to get those words, and then you use them as a fucking compass. There's a reason I have a compass tattooed on my hand, and these are the 6 virtues, is because it's my reminder if I'm ever lost and I don't know what to do, and I'm feeling indecisive. When in doubt, I have those words, and they will always guide me. And then I could trust that regardless of how I feel or what I'm thinking, if my action is aligned with my values and my virtues, I'm living with integrity. I'm living with integrity. It's your compass.
I was just putting this all together, and I wanted to ask you, you kind of answered it, but so as you were talking with me, you were talking about, you think it goes backwards with how that goes. I'm feeling right now it goes backwards with your virtues. Without integrity, there's no discipline. And it goes, I feel like, to me, it's feeling like it's flowing backwards. And I was just like, integrity is a big thing. And without it, we can't have any of those other ones. And without those other ones, we can't have integrity. So I'm like, it's bouncing off both sides of my head. But integrity really sticks out to me because I just think about when in my own life, and you were talking about the compass, is like, what do I need to do? And it goes back to, what do I feel I need to do, or all that. And that's my integrity. Then it bounces down to some other ones like, courage and these other ones, vitality.
Yeah.
Is that how you did you work backwards?
So, yeah, man, you you really hit the nail on the head. By the time we get to month 6 integrity, they're already living with integrity. And the reason why is because I interweave integrity into all of the virtues leading up to the integrity month. Yeah. So brotherhood, for example, the way I define it, the sub virtues I use are, support, vulnerability, camaraderie, and accountability. And underneath accountability, I talk about loyalty. Loyalty is linked to integrity. So I've interwoven some integrity into brotherhood. So they're already starting to live with integrity as they embody brotherhood the way I've defined it to them. Discipline, it's all about honoring your commitments to yourself. You got to start with having integrity with yourself and building credibility with you. courage. It's about ownership. It's about being courageous enough to own, to give up victimhood and to own, and ownership is about what? It's about admitting your flaws too. It's about accountability. There's integrity in that. So it's interwoven into all of the other virtues. So that it is the beginning and the end, like a lot of stories go, right? The beginning is the
Yeah.
end. So yes, it is the beginning. It is also the end. And then once they get to it at the end, when I tell them, hey, surprise, guess what? You're already living in alignment with this. You're already doing this by living in alignment with the other 5 virtues as we've defined them here in the Iron Brotherhood. So then what it pushes them to do is it pushes them to live out their integrity through leadership and to take it to even the next level. And I say, now here's your mission. Continue living by these virtues and exemplify it, because the more you do that, the more of an impact you're going to have, the more of a magnetic pull you're going to have, the more of a leader you're going to be. And we need that. So it's asking them to take their integrity to the next notch, where they're not just operating with integrity with themselves. They're not just operating with a strong moral compass when no one's watching, but they're turning their integrity into a mission and a sense of duty of, I need to carry this forward, and I need to exemplify these virtues, not just for me, but for society. Because that's my mission. It's one man at a time, but my mission is to build a society of strong, powerful leaders. Men masculine men who lead boldly and love fiercely. And I need to end the Iron Brotherhood on a virtue that's going to push these men to carry it forward with a sense of duty. So yes, it is the beginning. It's all throughout. And when we get to it at the end, it's ultimately saying, you've done the basics of integrity without knowing it for the last 5 months. So now let's talk about what integrity to the next level looks like. Yeah.
I think that's really cool, because it's like you got these stepping stones and you're stepping up. Different things though, like with the virtues, right? There's a lot of different stuff involved in there. But once you get to integrity, you're like, shit, I've been doing this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
But like you
Yeah.
said, how do I take it to the next step?
Yes.
And like within my head, it's already like I can think of ways to take it to the next step.
Yep.
Be better, all those things, right? It's just, but you've given that power and that self-worth, the brotherhood, all that wrapped up in a nice basket and handed it to him. Go, now build on it.
Now build on
I
it.
think that's amazing. I think it's amazing.
Now become a leader. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it. That's
As soon as
that's
you-
the story.
You start out with the accountability part,
Yeah.
and with accountability comes integrity.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Yep.
don't like the accountability part, then you're never going to live in integrity.
Right.
It's never
it's
like-
foundational integrity. It's baby steps to integrity. It's like, all right,
Right.
let's start here. Let's see if you can have some integrity with your brothers in this space. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, be accountable to each other and be accountable to yourself.
Yep. Yeah.
And without that, it doesn't. That's the like you said, that's the foundation of that integrity.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do with that? Like it's an uncomfortable. Both of those are an uncomfortable bitch to swallow.
Yeah. 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 You
Right?
talk to
They-
any of the guys in my group, they'll tell you like, oh yeah, it's uncomfortable.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is, because it
My
goes right back
journey
to-
is really fucking uncomfortable.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, and it goes back to temperance too, right? It's
Yeah,
that
yeah.
level
I
of
was just thinking about
humility.
that.
I just saw a quote. I heard Gary Vee talking today, and he said humility is the sheer superpower of society. And I've been sitting. I wrote that down on purpose, because there's a point to it, right? Whenever you you listen to him talk about leadership, he talks about leadership in a really interesting way, right? He talks
He does.
about supporting people and getting to know them and letting them know that they have value.
Yeah.
And the people that don't, he's promote fast and fire faster, literally.
Yeah.
Right? You keep the good ones and you let the good ones know that they're good, and
Yep.
and the bad ones are what drag everyone else down.
That's right.
Your mission, similar to ours, but different. Our mission is to have healthy emotional conversations, bring that to other men,
Yeah.
because we do need to be stronger. We do need to be better. Right now, we live in a society created by weak men,
Yeah.
right? We live in a society where comfort is put well above discomfort,
Oh
and
yeah.
we shy away from it.
Comfort, pleasures. Yeah. Hmm.
Right? You said something right at the beginning. Love without standard is just indulgence, and
That's it.
there's a crap ton of indulgence that's happening today, and
Yeah.
I feel like I'm preaching a little bit, but it pisses me off. I was part of
Preach,
that
brother.
whole culture. What's that?
Yeah. I said preach, brother.
I was
Facts.
part of that. I was part of that culture. The other thing, I'm like sitting here listening to you guys laying a bunch of eggs, and I'm gonna crack them as we go. But the other thing is, and I need to say this, but I think anyways, we are responsible for our feelings, for how we feel.
Yeah.
We don't get to give that away to someone else
No.
and say, you made me feel this way. You give that responsibility, you give all of your power away to that person that made you feel that way. Now, when you hear that, does that not sound ridiculous?
But my
Giving
boss made
power
me feel
away,
like
it's also-
this.
Yeah, it's giving
Right?
power away. It's also being a victim. Yeah, it's
It
giving,
is being a victim,
yeah.
but you literally give the power of that feeling to that person, and
Yeah.
then they get to do that to you all of the time
Yeah.
because you give them permission. We're responsible for how we feel, and that's uncomfortable. That
Yeah.
means when someone does something that triggers me, that pisses me off, that makes me angry, that hits my car, fuck, they did that. It doesn't matter. I'm still responsible for the anger that sits inside me because that motherfucker wasn't paying attention to whatever he was doing.
Yep.
That's my anger.
Yeah.
If I punch him, that's not because he hit my car. That's
not-
because I can't control my shit,
yeah. Zero temperance. Yeah.
right? They aren't responsible for the way I feel. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
I'm responsible to control, to understand, to ask where that comes from, to figure that one out not on my own, but I'm responsible for it.
Yeah.
I'm responsible for asking for help if I don't know what to do with it. And I've been there a lot. I don't know what to do with. Ask Robbie. I've been there a lot.
Yeah. That's okay.
And
Yeah,
that's there's the Steve's rant for the day.
I've got something to add to that though too. Is I talk about a lot of dark places in my life, and through the darkness I see the light, and without the darkness I don't see the light,
Mhm.
and that drives a lot of people crazy because they don't want to hear that part. For me, and what Steve was talking about, when I take the control of my feelings, it sucks. It hurts. There's a lot of places you don't know where to put it.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets really dark, really fucking dark. And that's up to yourself to ask for help, work through it, whatever you got to do. And, for the last few years, there's been a lot of darkness, but there's been a lot of light, and the light
Mhm.
shines through the darkness. And when I sit in those dark times, it's really uncomfortable. There's a lot of times I want to play the victim and blame it on someone else, but I don't. I come back right to it and deal with it. And when you tell people this, they either believe you or don't. But in this, I could be wrong, but I feel like a lot of times they're like, dude, you're really fucking dark. There's a lot of dark shit in you. And I would tell them, yes, there is.
Mm.
And it's okay. If you're not feeling this darkness or this, whatever you want to call it, I don't see any growth. I don't see you working on yourself. And I want society to stop people pleasing and coming up with answers for fucking everything to make someone feel better. This sucks. This hurts. It's hard. Sit in the darkness. You don't have to
Yeah.
sit there for too long. If you got to ask for help, ask for help. But remember, with darkness, there's always going to come light.
Amen. Amen to that. I want to show you something.
Absolutely.
Hold on.
I'm curious what he's going to show. Oh, look at this. Darkness is a hell of a coach. I love that. I love that. I love that.
I didn't even know.
I wore that on the last episode.
That's
Oh, did you?
amazing.
Yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
one of the guys in the current Iron Brotherhood showed up to one of the meetings wearing that, and I immediately was like, "Bro, like, where did you get it? I
Yeah.
need one." I agree with you, Robbie. I think that a lot of what we do in the Iron Brotherhood is, we all have this imaginary rope harness tied around ourselves, and we belay each other slowly into the abyss. And I facilitate that, but it's about going as deep as we're willing to go into the abyss to make discoveries and to take those discoveries out, because there's light on the other side of that. You ask anybody that's in the Iron Brotherhood who has ever worked with me in the Iron Brotherhood, is Frank dark? Yeah, I use a lot of darkness in my work, and because I think there's so much good to be found in it,
Mhm.
and I think that we need to be able to peer into the abyss,
It's where
to
the
peer into the
lessons-
abyss,
it's where the
because we
lessons
yeah
are.
we find some amazing stuff there. But I love what you said, man. I do. I think darkness and your ability to access your darkness can be a superpower. And when I was younger, I didn't have integrity and I didn't use it for good. So I thought dark was simply evil. And I thought that I was bad because of it. And I've learned to harness my darkness in a way that is powerful and impactful and aligned with integrity and mission driven, and also just makes me unique as a coach with my style, because I don't shy away from the darkness. I don't hide it as a part of who I am. Some months on my curated media list that I give the guys, because every month they get like a curated list of like, read this book, listen to this podcast, watch this movie. It's aligned with the virtue in some way or another. I recommend horror movies on some months. So yeah, no, there's a lot of darkness in this work, and but it's all with the purpose of being able to live more and more in the light. But we have to get into the darkness to get there and to make the discoveries. So yeah, I love what you said.
We're getting near the end here, but I'm gonna
Oh shit!
share a story that I heard today from a friend, and this friend is going through a really hard time right now, and she's walking through her darkness. She went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Well, we push pills in this country, right?" So she went to the doctor, talked about it because she has the courage to. She was offered antidepressants. She went to see her therapist. Her therapist offered her antidepressants. Like, if you want these things, we'll give them to you, no problem. In the conversation I had today, it's a she, but this goes both ways. She said, I fought really hard to feel again. I fought really hard for my feelings. And right now I'm having darkness, but as soon as I start taking that medication, I'm not going to feel my joy either. And like, that hit me hard, because you can't have one without the other. And even though she's not in a good place, she is deciding, she is choosing that in this suffering, I know there will be joy.
Hmm.
And when it comes, I don't want to miss it.
Mhm.
And that goes for all of us guys. I know this feeling myself. Robbie knows this feeling himself. Frank, I'm sure you do too,
Hmm.
right?
I mean,
But
I spent years taking antidepressants. Yeah.
right?
And I
And
don't believe that they only block the bad feelings.
right,
Yeah.
right. And so she didn't want to miss the other side of it. She
Hmm.
didn't want to miss the other side that she knew has the possibility of showing up. And to me, that was brave as fuck.
Yeah.
Like that's a hell of a lot of courage. Knowing full well that today might not be right. And that's all right. That's okay. And Robbie, that's what you were talking about earlier.
Mhm.
Like it's okay to be in that darkness. You can't stay there for long. You can't. But that's why you go you try and find people. That's why we try. That's why we're here. That's why we're all here. Because there's guys out there that need other guys, that need other people. That we need each other. I said this to Brenda. Yes, to Brenda. She's the lady who sent us the message. I said this to like we men need men, men need women, women need women, women need men. There's a symbiotic relationship that exists between all of us that we don't nurture very much anymore. And it's cool to be a part of and to try and nurture these relationships, even through a podcast and a conversation and trying to figure that out. Frank, you talked about two things that I'm going to touch on before we can wrap this up.
Yeah.
And you said virtues, and I just recognize this, but and this goes to where this one gentleman who commented on how we do things differently and how we achieve and we get to there differently. It's not because of the virtues, it's because of the values. And you said that too. We all value different things in our lives. We all have a different value set. And within that value set, we can apply these virtues. And I heard you talk, and I was, and that's how the differences in all of us men is our value set, what we believe, how we want to live in our integrity starts with our values and is the virtues that we use to maintain it.
Yeah. I think there is overlap, right?
Yeah.
But the term virtue, when we think of, well, what do we think of when we think of the word virtuous, right? We think of probably like noble,
Mhm.
high moral character. So virtues typically are linked to having high moral character, whereas values are not necessarily morally connected. They're very,
Right.
very personal.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I can come up with an example of one. Creativity is a value of mine. And it's not in my top 4, but it's in my top 20. Freedom is a value of mine. These aren't necessarily virtues, but they're
Right.
values. They're things that
Mhm.
I find important.
Mm-hmm.
So there can be overlap in that you can choose to make, say, for example, the virtues of the Iron Brotherhood your
Mhm.
values if you don't already have a value set to live by.
Right.
But by going on this journey and living by virtues, it's setting you up to start personalizing and creating your own compass to live by.
There you go. That's the personalizing part.
Yes,
Yeah.
is that you personalize it. And as it turns out, I have all 6 of these virtues in my top 20 values, because I want to be a virtuous man, and I want to encourage other men to be virtuous men. I do values assessments in my one-on-one work, but in the Iron Brotherhood and in the men's groups where we focus on the masculine journey, that's where I'm more of the visionary, as opposed to being like, hey, let's tailor this and customize it to just, making it whatever it is that you want to live by, and you can, and setting you up to achieve whatever that is, which is more of the values assessment. I'm saying, let's start here. You want to be a great man with, you want to lead boldly, love fiercely, and be an amazing leader. Start with these. Make these your values for now, and then later you could work in your own things here and there, and you could color it with some and personalize it, but yeah. So whoever asked that question, I think that was a very good, very cool question to ask. Not a lot of people ask that. I don't know if he straight up asked, like, what is the difference between value and virtue? But I feel like your response to it very, very much answers that, is that there can be overlap, but values are much more personal. Virtues are typically kind of part of like a moral, having high moral character.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Robbie, before we wrap this up, you got anything else?
I'm exhausted.
Probably more emotionally than physically.
Oh, 100% emotionally.
Yeah. Right on.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Frank?
I just want to say that. I want to say thank you. Thank you guys for letting me talk about this. Thank you guys for listening to my monologues, for being so vulnerable with me, for having some great conversation with me, for being brothers. Yeah.
We
And for the work
appreciate-
you're doing, and for your integrity.
We appreciate you and your willingness to show up and share about the brotherhood and share about these values and virtues and what they mean to you and how you help other men, and
Thanks,
letting
man.
us be a part of that. We're a little hole in the wall podcast, and when you think about not deserving certain things, when someone shows up and wants to join us and share as much as you have with this little podcast, it feels pretty cool, and it feels pretty special.
Mhm.
Thanks, man.
So-
I seek alignment, and when I sought you out and I checked you out, I sensed alignment. I told you your first
Yeah.
voice note back to me. I was like, oh, I already like this guy. Yeah. I could sniff out integrity. And I sensed alignment, and that's what it's all about. The same thing with the Iron Brotherhood. I don't say yes to everybody. I'm looking for people who I really do believe want to go on this journey and are going to thrive. And by the way, just since we're on that, if I could just say to the guys who are listening, if you've listened to all 3 episodes, or if you've just listened to this one and you're bought in and you're sold on it, if it's resonating with you, if you think that this is a journey that makes sense for you and that you would grow from, and you believe in the masculine journey and these virtues speak to you, hit me up, Frank Paul Vignola. All right. You can do frankpaulvignola.com to get to my website. Then just click on the Iron Brotherhood and you can apply. Or you could look up Vignolagram on Instagram if you want to have a chat first. Either way, you're going to be linked to hopping on a call with me at some point to check each other out and see if we vibe and if we align. And if so, then we go on a journey together.
Amazing. I hope there's a guy or two or even more that go and check you out and find out what you're up to and use you to help them along with their journey.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, no, I hope you get something out of this too, rather than
Oh man, I already got something out of this. I already got something out of this. Yeah,
I
don't
did
worry about
too.
that. I got to
Anyways,
meet you guys.
Yeah, I feel
Likewise.
grateful. I feel grateful.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot in these past 3 episodes, and I don't think this relationship's done by any means. So
I don't think so either.
as our audience is, if you're still here listening, you'll see Frank again. I know there's almost a guarantee there. Frank, thanks for joining us. And I'm going to finish this off with the same thing I always finish every episode off is if you're a guy out there that is alone, that feels that loneliness, that feels like you have no place to turn. I know there's a ton of you out there. You're not as alone as you think you are, even though you feel that way. That feeling is completely valid, but part of it is you got to make some effort to reach out. There are people out there that are willing to help. There are people out there that are willing to care. There are people out there that are willing to go out of their way to help you help yourself. And there's 3 guys here that are willing to do that. So you don't have to do this alone. You really don't have to do this alone. So thank you, Frank. Robbie, love you, man. We'll figure out what we're gonna do for the next episode. And to our listeners, to whoever's made it this far, thank you for being here. I know Imp is still here. He watches every episode live. I sent him a message. I'm like, we're going live tonight, and here he is. He's been like
What's up, Imp?
the most loyal fan and listener and watcher that we have, at least the loudest one. So I appreciate you for always showing up like you do, man. So now you're getting a shout out. So thank you for watching. You know what? I'm gonna do this. No, never mind. I'm not gonna do it. I'll try and figure out. Always end off on the note for other men to reach out. So please do if that's you.